In the headlines of VTV News, National Assembly discusses draft law on fire prevention and fighting. Vietnam, Russia celebrate long-standing friendship. And later on in our world news, Russia and North Korea pledge to advance bilateral partnership.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VTV News. You're with me, Lina Fatman. Here's the top news of the hour. On Wednesday afternoon, June the 19th, the National Assembly discussed in groups the draft law on fire prevention, firefighting, search and rescue operations. More in the following.
Many National Assembly deputies have expressed their agreement with the report of the draft law on fire prevention, firefighting, search and rescue. Some deputies suggested that the draft law add more solutions to prevent fires that cause massive destruction to people and property.
We need detailed, separated regulations on fire prevention for households and households with attached business. The draft law must require houses to have better reinforcement to identify the responsibility of the homeowner and local authorities.
We must have a thorough assessment of existing facilities, construction sites that violate the 2001 law on fire prevention and fighting, and propose appropriate transitional regulations.
National Assembly deputies also suggested adding provisions related to the management and supervision of battery quality in electric vehicles. They also recommended including provisions on the responsibilities of agencies in inspecting and supervising fire prevention and fighting.
Though establishments may be carefully inspected and reported, many incidents still occur. Therefore, the draft law needs to outline the responsibilities of the agency inspecting and supervising fire prevention and fighting.
The two agencies that appraised fire protection designs include the Specialized Agency and the Ministry of Public Security. I suggest the Ministry of Public Security preside over the appraisal and examination of fire protection designs, as well as inspection and acceptance of fire protection work.
On the same afternoon, National Assembly deputies also discussed the draft law on the People's Air Defense.
State President Tô Lâm visited, congratulated and gave gifts to a number of veteran journalists in Hanoi on Wednesday, ahead of the 99th Vietnam Revolutionary Press Day on June the 21st. More to follow.
State President Tô Lâm visited journalist Ha Đăng, former head of the Party Central Committee's Commission for Cultural Ideology, journalist Phan Quang, former president of the Vietnam Journalists Association and former general director of Voice of Vietnam, journalist Hồ Tiến Nghị, former assistant to the party general secretary, former general director of Vietnam News Agency, and journalist Vũ Văn Hiến, former general director of Vietnam Television. The state president affirmed that the party and the state honors journalists who have made many contributions to the cause of revolutionary journalism, the development of national press in particular, and national construction and defense more broadly. The veteran journalists also expressed confidence that the state president will make more contributions to the national construction and development. They affirmed that they will continue to promote the tradition of revolutionary journalism, educate younger generations, and actively contribute to national development.
On Wednesday, the 19th of June, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn met with leaders of press and agencies during the 7th session of the 15th National Assembly. Representatives of press agencies expressed their appreciation and hoped to continue to work closely with the National Assembly's office and agencies in providing information. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn acknowledged and thanked the news agencies and press for organizing timely, continuous, and complete reports of the sessions for voters and people nationwide. The top leader also requested that press agencies and reporters actively and objectively deliver information about the activities of the National Assembly in the last 6 months of the year and for the upcoming 80th anniversary of Vietnam's first general election day. Concluding the conference on the draft plan for the development of a network of media for the 2021 to 2030 period with a vision to 2050, Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang recognized that the task of development of such a network would be challenging. He urged relevant parties to continue reviewing and completing the draft plan according to certain principles, including substantive, open and feasible implementation in accordance with other regulations and planning. The draft plan encompasses various media, namely press, radio, television, electronic information, and publishers. The Deputy Prime Minister also requested the planning indicate directions for removing obstacles in terms of resources and legal corridors. This aims to create conditions for press and publishing agencies to develop strongly in the coming time. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Alexei Likhachev, Director General of the State Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom, a leading global corporation in the nuclear industry. The Prime Minister proposed that both sides developed a long-term cooperation plan in the field of atomic energy, aiming to benefit both nations and contribute to regional and global peace, stability, and development. He asked for Rosatom's support in training high-quality human resources in Vietnam. He further welcomed Rosatom's proposal to build a nuclear medicine center and suggested expediting the project to construct a nuclear science and technology research center in Dong Nai province. Alexei Likhachev expressed high regard for the ongoing cooperation in nuclear energy between the two sides and affirmed Rosatom's commitment to further promoting collaboration on specific aspects of nuclear energy as discussed with the Prime Minister. Vietnam and Russia has established a long, rich history of relations nurtured by many generations of leaders and people of the two countries, becoming a valuable asset to both nations. The state visit to Vietnam from June the 19th to the 20th by Russian President Vladimir Putin at the invitation of General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng creates a driving force for the two countries to continue to deepen the long-standing traditional friendship.
Sochi, located on the Black Sea coast of Russia, is the place where Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomes leaders and important partners worldwide. In 2014 and 2018, this place has held friendly meetings between General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng and President Vladimir Putin. 2024 is also the year the two countries celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Treaty on Principles of Friendly Relations and move towards the 75th anniversary in 2025 of the establishment of diplomatic relations.
The greatest value we have is trust, along with the historical foundation that has created long-lasting relations.
The Russia-Vietnam friendship has been built on history and human relations. There are generations of Vietnamese students and workers in Russia, and thousands of Russian experts helping Vietnam.
There was a saying during Soviet era, Vietnam and Russia are geographically distant, but spiritually close friends. It's still true to this day.
In June 2023, on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of Uncle Ho's first arrival in Soviet Union, the statue of President Ho Chi Minh was built in St. Petersburg. At present, Uncle Ho's images and Vietnam's mark can be seen anywhere in Russia, from the northern capital to the forest and even the Arctic.
I know about Vietnam during its most challenging periods, through the days of building the Hoa Binh hydropower plant to the country's Doi Moi journey.
Vietnam is and will always be present in my life. There are many moments that I immerse myself in Vietnamese culture and lifestyle.
The Treaty on Principles of Friendly Relations 30 years ago has created the premise for the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries. Many generations of Russians and Vietnamese people continue to nurture and develop this special friendship.
Coming up next, efforts made to boost exports to Halal market. And Vietnamese French woman establishes charity to assist Vietnamese orphans.
When it comes to business, it's crucial to choose a smart location with global impact. And Vietnam might just be the location for you. Connect worldwide to advanced logistics networks. Smart hub for technology and innovation. A dynamic business ecosystem. An environment with a competitive edge.
You're watching VTV News. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính has signed and issued a government resolution on key tasks and solutions to promote growth, control inflation, and stabilize the macroeconomy. The resolution calls for the harmonious and effective management and reasonable balance between growth and inflation control, striving for GDP growth to reach the upper limit of the target assigned by the National Assembly from 6 to 6.5% and the control of CPI growth to reach the lower limit of the target assigned by the National Assembly, which is 4 to 4.5%. Other priorities are managing a reasonable expansionary fiscal policy and strict control of the country's deficit, public government, and foreign debt within the permitted limits. In the resolution, the government assigns specific tasks to ministries, branches, and localities on numerous issues, such as focusing on revising institutions, laws, mechanisms, and policies, promoting credit growth, focusing on production and business sectors, removing difficulties, focusing on cultural, social, and environmental fields, ensure social security and people's lives. The market for halal products consumed by nearly 2 billion people globally represents a substantial business opportunity for potential sellers. However, Vietnam currently holds a modest share in supplying this sizable market. Recently, the Vietnam Halal Certification Authority was established to assist Vietnamese businesses in exporting halal certified products. This initiative aims to facilitate Vietnam's entry into the lucrative Muslim market, promoting two-way trade and investment in a comprehensive and effective manner.
In order for goods to enter the markets of Muslim countries, it is mandatory that the goods must have halal certifications labeled on the products. The National Halal Certification Authority is not only a place to evaluate and certify products, it also provides information, guidance, and connects Vietnamese businesses with the global halal market.
The Vietnam Halal Certification Authority aims to ensure that halal certification granting activities comply with international standards and practices related to halal certification activities and will be a prestigious organization participating in international cooperation activities.
This beverage manufacturer has proactively converted its conventional products model into a model producing halal products since 2022 to reach new markets. However, the business has encountered many difficulties when it must re-evaluate products' quality every year at high cost. Thanks to the National Halal Certification Authority's direct support, the enterprise has shortened trading time and its products have accessed the market more easily.
The Vietnam Halal Certification Authority demonstrates the state's commitment to supporting businesses seeking direct connections with halal certified producers or exporters. This facilitates the production and export of halal products to foreign markets, meeting the demands of businesses abroad interested in importing such goods.
Ali Asayeb, an import-export business owner in Kuwait with 15 years of experience in Vietnam, seeks help from the authority to access reliable market information and establish valuable business networks.
Muslim consumers care about the processing of products and only consume those with halal certification labels. The authority assists businesses in adhering to these standards, gaining deeper insights into international markets, and reducing costs of administrative procedures.
The halal market extends across both Muslim and non-Muslim countries, presenting a significant opportunity for Vietnamese exporters. Ensuring adherence to production standards is crucial for Vietnamese goods to secure a presence on shelves in Muslim countries.
Despite significant efforts by Quảng Nam Province, more effective and timely measures are required to meet the European Commission's or EC criteria for lifting the IUU illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing yellow card on Vietnam. This was the conclusion of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development's working group after an on-site inspection and working session with Quảng Nam on Wednesday since the 19th. Since the beginning of the year, Quảng Nam's functional forces have inspected and sanctioned 97 cases of IUU fishing violations with fines totaling $90.3 thousand. However, the ministry's working group emphasized the need for Quảng Nam to intensify its management and supervision efforts. This includes addressing the issue of over 1,000 unregistered fishing vessels, enhancing traceability, and improving the management of fishing vessels before they enter ports, as well as maintaining accurate travel logs. Additionally, the province must stay updated and well-informed on central government circulars, decrees, and directives related to combating IUU fishing. Nearly 90,000 hectares of land in Bình Thuận province suffer from desertification. Coastal areas, particularly those exposed to constant sea breezes in Bắc Bình district, face the dual threats of drought and shifting sands. However, dedicated efforts are underway to combat these challenges and green the desertified areas.
Bình Thuận province is one of the regions hardest hit by extreme climate patterns. Despite the intense heat wave, workers at the Lê Hồng Phong Protection Forest diligently nurture drought-resistant seedlings. This effort aims to supply around 110,000 trees for planting in semi-desert areas during the rainy season. The prolonged drought this year has made seedling care even more urgent.
Despite being drought-resistant, the intense heat has killed this plant. They only have 1% chance of survival this year due to the extreme drought and high temperatures.
Decades of combating desertification in Bắc Bình have seen various drought-resistant plants introduced. However, survival rates remain low due to the region's harsh climate. Greening this near-desert area is no easy feat.
We grow on the most compatible soil to form a strong tree windbreak against sea breezes and gradually expand the greenery. After 2 years, trees reach 1.5 to 2 meters, and by the 5th year, they grow about 5 meters.
10 years ago, this area was covered in dunes, but the wind frequently blew them away. Through annual planting, we have reduced the barren land and dust brought by onshore breezes. Little by little, we've created a stable, green landscape.
Since its inception in 2003, the Lê Hồng Phong Protection Forest Management Board has declaimed over 4,200 hectares of semi-desert land, increasing land coverage from nearly 62% to almost 90%.
A charity concert to raise funds for orphans in Vietnam was held in Paris. This is the first music night organized by the Association of Talented Individuals for Vietnamese Orphans charity organization dedicated to helping Vietnamese orphans. The founder is Susan Chen, an orphan who has lived in France from the age of 9. Our next story is a glimpse into this inspirational journey.
The Chamber Music Night in Paris marks the first event hosted by the Association of Talented Individuals for Vietnamese Orphans. The show aims to appeal to a French audience.
The reason for today's concert is because I myself am an orphan. I lost my parents at the age of 6 and began living in a French orphanage when I was 9. I experienced hardship and a lack of maternal love. I didn't have a father or mother to kiss me goodnight. In 2018, I returned to Vietnam and met orphans here. I felt deeply sorry for them.
In the following years, Susan returned to Vietnam more often. Every time she came back to Vietnam, she spent time visiting orphanages. Then she returned to France to establish a charity to assist the children with the help of her Vietnamese and French friends.
I learned about today's event through Susan Tran, who had the idea to establish an association to aid orphans in Vietnam. Susan had visited Vietnam and gave gifts to the children there. I offered to help Susan with organizing a classical music program here in France.
The funds raised from the concert in Paris will be transferred to an orphanage in Vietnam by mid-August this year. The decision on whether to send money or materials will be made after consulting with local authorities in Vietnam.
I visited many orphans in Vietnam. I went back and forth between the Bến Thành People's Committee and the Phú Quốc People's Committee to provide the poor with rice, seasoning, and so on. Still, my biggest dream is to raise orphans and establish an orphanage.
While the amount of money raised may not have been substantial, the most important thing is that the first step towards realizing her dream has been fulfilled.
Coming up next in our world news, Russia and North Korea pledge to advance bilateral partnership. And Israel approves offensive plan targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon. Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks on Wednesday, the 19th, with chairman of the State Affairs Commission of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, as part of his first visit to North Korea in 24 years. The two leaders signed the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty. Earlier at the talks, Russian President Vladimir Putin affirmed that the bilateral cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang is based on the principles of equality and mutual respect for each other's interests. The Russian leader also spoke highly of North Korea's support for Russia's policies. For his part, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un stated that North Korea is determined to promote strategic cooperation with Russia in the future and said that the bilateral ties are entering an era of prosperity. China and Malaysia on Wednesday resumed a 5-year economic cooperation pact and pledged to review the visa exemption agreement between the two countries during a visit by Chinese Premier Li Qiang to mark 50 years of diplomatic ties between the two countries. Chinese Premier Li Qiang engaged in a meeting with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. After the meeting, the two leaders witnessed the signing of several bilateral agreements, including an agreement to import fresh durian from Malaysia. The Chinese premier also met with Malaysia's King Sultan Ibrahim and attended the groundbreaking ceremony at a construction site for the East Coast Rail Link ECRL, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. The Israeli army on Tuesday said plans for an offensive targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon were approved and validated. The decision was made amid rising cross-border clashes between Israel and Hezbollah, increasing a further escalation to a greater war across the region. On his visit to Beirut on Tuesday, U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein called for urgent diplomatic measures and de-escalation of confrontations in the Israel-Lebanon border area. Tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border have escalated since the conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza broke out in October 2023. Hezbollah has since launched many rockets towards Israel to show support for Hamas. For its part, Israel also retaliated with artillery on Hezbollah targets in southeast Lebanon. Promoting gender equality and women's empowerment has become a cornerstone of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as a priority for numerous international organizations. In many countries, there has been gradual progress in enhancing women's rights and roles. In Japan, for instance, many women now hold ownership positions in businesses, a role that was traditionally reserved for men in this country.
About 25 female office workers gathered at a workshop organized by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government to learn about communication skills for their further career development. Many participants said they aspire to become managers. However, they've encountered difficulties seeking promotions in their companies. This is due to many factors, including a lack of female leaders or mentors in their companies who help them navigate their goals.
There are no female role models in my company whose working style I can learn from for my future career. I want to understand how women in other companies approach leadership and how female employees strive for management positions. That's why I joined this workshop.
Last year, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio set the goal for women to secure at least 30% of executive positions at top companies by 2030. To realize the goal, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government has organized career advancement support workshops for women since 2018. The number of workshop participants has increased more than 4 times as of 2022.
The fact is that women have so far not played an active role in their careers because of many reasons. This means they have so much potential and room to grow. Therefore, we strive to create an opportunity for them to showcase their abilities and for everyone to acknowledge their achievements.
Thanks to the efforts of the Japanese government and local authorities, the number of female CEOs at companies in the Japan Business Federation has increased by 6.2% over the past decade.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. See you again at 3 p.m. local time. Goodbye for now.